Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Kaylin here, and this is Full Purpose and Heart. Today I want to share with you guys how I am organizing the school year for the next coming school year. We will have my third grader, first grader, and then my preschooler. And I just want to share with you guys how I organize it. I've been getting a lot of questions, especially over on my Instagram account, about how to get started with homeschooling. And I'm going to answer a lot of those questions in a future video, kind of as a Q&A back-to-back thing. But I really wanted to dive into how you can organize your school year to try and make it look more approachable, less intimidating for those of you who are new to the homeschooling world. I have been homeschooling for a few years now, and these systems I'm going to show you are the ones that have kind of held through, tried and true for the last couple of years. I'm going to show you two different systems in this video, so hopefully you can get kind of a good flavor and maybe mix them up or do something so that it works well for your family. So if you're interested in this kind of content, then let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to share with you guys a couple of steps that you can take to organize your school year. So step number one is going to be to check what your district requirements are. Just depending on whatever state you live in, the state is going to have some requirements, and then those requirements are going to be passed down to the district that you live in, the school district that you live in. For my particular state, we have a form that we have to fill out with our district to get some attendance exemptions. So make sure you click on the link below. I'll make sure and put one there for every state, and then you can find out what your state's requirements are. The second step, now this is kind of tricky. When I very first started homeschooling all those years ago, the second step that I took was to look up the district's learning path or their curriculum guide. I come from a public school background. I was a public school teacher, so I was very familiar with kind of this pacing guide and what it was that the district wanted the students to learn. Not having any idea what to teach my kids, I turned to the district for some guidance on that. I wouldn't recommend doing that now, looking hindsight. I feel like whatever curriculum it is that you choose, that publisher is going to have done all that work for you and make sure to give you a really good foundation for each of those subject areas. So decide on what subjects you're going to focus on, and I'll address some of these things in other videos too. But as a quick overview, the 3 R's, reading, writing, and math, or arithmetic, reading, writing, arithmetic, are kind of your major ones that you want to make sure and practice every single day. Then there's elective courses, which would be your science and your history. And then there's additional kind of electives that you can choose to do or choose not to do. And that would be things like art, maybe a language class, typing, any kind of service or outside of the home learning that you want to get done, co-ops, that kind of stuff. So kind of lay out what it is that you want to have your school year look like and what subjects you want to cover. So that would be step number 2. Step number 3 is to organize your calendar. And what day are you going to start school and what day are you going to end school? For lots of people, myself included, when you're new to homeschooling, it's natural to follow the school district's calendar. But just remember that you are not required to do that. You can have you can start earlier, you can start later. If your state has a requirement of how many days you need to have attendance, then just take that into account. But I'll give you an example for us. Our homeschool year starts in the middle of July and it ends at the beginning of May. We have 4-day school weeks, so we go to school Monday through Thursday. And then we typically go about 5 to 6 weeks on, and then we take a week off break. So you may be thinking, well, how can you cover the material that you need in that amount of time? And I'll go over that here in just a couple of minutes. So those are like your first 3 major steps to getting started with homeschooling, is you decide what does my state require, what subjects do I want to cover, and on what days are we going to have school. once you've done all that, your next step is going to be to pick your curriculum and what it is that you want to do. So how I do it is I just get a piece of binder paper and I write those subjects down that I had written, that I had decided earlier, with a couple of spaces in between, and then I go to work researching. And being that you are already here on YouTube researching how to organize your school year, then you have a great starting point. YouTube is a fantastic resource. There are a ton of mamas out there who have recorded videos about curriculum in every subject that you can think of in all of the grade levels. So start looking there, and you can just do a YouTube search. I have a ton on my channel as well for the subject, the grade level, and a bunch of stuff will pop up. And then on your binder paper, just start writing those publishers and maybe like a note or two of something that you liked or more that you want to look into. I also leave a space where you can write down the price as you go looking into each of those. This is my piece of paper that I'm like writing on here. So that's your next step, is just to start going through each of those curriculums and decide kind of what you're drawn to. And it may seem really intimidating at first, but let me just encourage you that it is a more easy perhaps than you may think that it is, because you're going to be drawn to curriculums based on your teaching style, kind of what grooves with you and how you know your children like to learn or to act. Even if your kids are coming home for the first time as a homeschooling family, or if you're doing some temporary homeschooling, you're going to be able to understand what your kids will gravitate toward. So that's where you start, and there's a lot of different publishers out there, and there's boxed curriculum sets where the publisher has done all the work for you and just gives it to you in like a open and go format, or you can do it more of an eclectic style, which is what I do, where you kind of pull different curriculums from different publishers and find what works for you. Okay? So those are all of the steps that you need to do before. And I will do other videos in the future and do like a back to homeschool week or something like that, just to kind of give you more information on that. If you're interested in that, then you can check those videos out. So that pulls you to actually preparing for your entire school year. And once you've decided on what curriculum you want and it starts arriving at your door, that's always a very exciting time for me here on my side of the mountain. Then you're gonna have a whole bunch of books and curriculum. These are some science books, for example, that I'm using this year. And you begin to decide on what days you're going to do which activities. Now, things like math, I'm looking in my folders here. I'll show you this binder here in just a second, or my crate rather. But things like math, I'm trying to pull this out and it's not going very well. Okay, so things like math, these are some math lessons from our curriculum. They're gonna just be labeled like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. This is labeled 127 because we're finishing up our kindergarten year before we start first grade with my daughter. And you just rip those out, one lesson per page, and you organize the year, and you can just rip them out and be like, well, we're having 5-day school weeks or 4-day school weeks, and you rip them out, and then you're gonna put them in a crate like this, okay? So I've shown this crate before on a lot of my videos, and I've kind of done it mostly the same, but I've improved it slightly this year, so I'm excited to show you that. But as you go through your year, you're just going to pull those pages out and put them in the given week. This is going to eliminate all of the thinking that has to do when you reset each week. Another way that you could do it is to keep all of your things in their books and do kind of like a workbox system like this one back here. Let me grab one for you. So this is, these are just some, these are some, I think they're like cosmetic drawers probably, but anyway, we just use them for whatever, for homeschool, obviously. And what you do is then you can actually put the book inside here, and at the end of each day, when your student is finished doing their schoolwork, then they turn it in. You can have a basket or some kind of like gathering spot for finished work. And then at the end of the school day, before you start the new school day as the teacher, you just go through their boxes and put their new assignment on top. So here's an example. Is this obviously says scripture, but just go with it for the example. This is the book that my daughter is going to be using for her science curriculum. So I would put the whole book in there like this and then close it up. And then as each day comes, I would take the book out, go to the next assignment that we're doing, rip this page out like so. Okay, now it's out. And I would actually just put it right on top of her book here and then put it inside the drawer. So then you're gonna take this drawer, stick it back into the thing, and each of your drawers are gonna be finished for the school year. Now, you can get 2 of these crates, then you'll have 6 subjects, 1 for each day, and then I often put like the scripture on the top. It worked out that I could put it right here, you can read, but in years past when I've had 7 subjects, I usually just put like our scriptures on the top and then the kids can go down for the rest of the crate. Okay, so that is kind of 2 different ways that you can organize your entire school year. And then you don't ever have to worry about what lesson comes next. Whether you rip out the entire book and put it in a crate like the one that I have over here, like this. Oh, this is heavy. Or if you do kind of a workbox system and you rip it out 1 page at a time, either way, you're not having to like reinvent the wheel every morning, be like, okay, what is it that we're gonna learn? Homeschooling is nothing like my teaching life. In teaching high school, I had to generate the lesson plan every single day and try to figure out what it was we were going to do. Doing homeschooling has been a lot less lesson planning, and there's so many curriculums available that you're not building out an entire unit like you do in public school. I have a lot of friends that are now pulling their kids out of school and doing kind of a temporary homeschool life, and they too were public school teachers in their former lives before they were moms and raising kids. And so that's something that I hear myself saying a lot is this is not going to be you building curriculum and trying to figure out what am I going to teach my kid. The curriculum does a lot of work for you, and your job is to organize it so that each morning when you sit down with your kids, they have what work they need and you know how to facilitate that learning. So let me turn my camera around really quick and I'll show you my crate and then how I transfer my crate into a binder for weekly work on that one, okay? Let's go ahead and do that. All right, my friends, here is my tried and true crate. It does look a little bit different this year than it has in years past. So this year we went with the manila envelopes, and these hanging folders are my color. I love color. I'm kind of a color queen, and so I love to have color. This is in the wrong spot, so I gotta fix it. Okay. So what I did is I've got 3 kids in school this year. And so I just divided that every left-sided tab was going to be my oldest, every center tab was my middle child, and every right center tab was going to be my youngest student. And then one of my subscribers out here actually printed these for me because I couldn't find the right things that I wanted. But she found them for me and she printed them for me. So each of my kids have a color. So my oldest, Cameron, here is green. And then next to that, I put week 1. So by doing this, it's eliminated the need for having like these label tabs sticking up. I just think this looks so much more uniform. It's so much cleaner as opposed to what I did last year and videos in the past that you may have watched. So each of my kids have their weeks. And then what I've done is, let's do week 2 here, is I've gone through, just like in years past, this is kind of the same setup, and I have ripped out all of the assignment or the work pages that my student will be doing. So he has his history in here, he has some science in here, he has his math in here, we have, what else? And his reading comprehension page is in here. So all of the work that he needs is going to be here in one folder. And I just went one subject at a time and then ripped it out and then put it into each coordinating week so that he had 4 days worth of work for each of those, okay? Same thing for my daughter here. Now her curriculum is a lot more eclectic. So I just printed off those pages that she's going to be doing. She's got Horizons Math. This is a page that comes from an Evan Moore. So she's doing this for her science work. And then we also have some language arts that she's doing with her language arts program. I'm doing the Good and the Beautiful, and I knew that lessons for week 2 was going to be covering B and D confusion, so I printed off that form. That's something that I had made a little while ago. And then for my youngest, he's doing preschool with my little Preschool With Me program. So I just printed off all the pages that we're doing in that class, like for my little online thing. And I just put them in here so that he already has them kind of ready to go. And we're doing ice cream during week 2. So anyway, then those are all ready for him. And then I did that kind of going all the way down. Now, you'll notice in this one here, for my daughter, she has like a folder. Now this folder is something that she's going to be using for several weeks. When we get down here to week 8, you'll notice there's another one. And these ones I actually print off and I create. This is her her social studies unit. And I've done a review on this in another video, so I'll link it here up above. This is called the Little Thinkers unit, and she includes all of these pages. So I just printed off these pages and then comb bound them with this like color thing on the front, and she's gonna then have this in her drawer so that every day when we do social studies, then I'll just be like, okay, pull out your work pages and we'll do a page for that. So that way I'm not worrying about having to find it, where is it, whatever, it's right here. And then I did that again. We do it in week 8, and then week 14 is the next one, and here's one in week 21. So I just keep those in there, and then when we start it, we pull it out and I put it with her other stuff in one of her drawers or with her binder. These books that I have up here, I am just saving them because we're gonna do these as morning work. I'm gonna have like brain starters or whatever, and we did these. We're gonna do these draw right now things. Anyway, so that's this system right here. Okay, so keeping everything in a crate, you can actually use that crate and then transfer it week to week into drawers like this, if that's something that you want to do. I have found that the binder system here is a really easy weekly system. We've been doing this for a long time. I have several videos about this on my channel as well, but essentially what I do is I just transfer all of my students' work into their folder behind dividers. So we'll have 5 dividers, one for each day of the week, and then those assignments that he needs to do that day are in his binder. So when we sit down to do table work, then he can just grab his binder and all of the work that he needs to do for Monday is there. I have had people ask me, do you ever divide by subject? And the answer is yes, I did used to do that, where behind each tab, instead of having like 1 page for math, 1 page for history, yada yada, I had all of the math pages in one tab and all of the history pages in another tab. I have done that before and it did work well, but I have found for my student that he didn't feel progression in his schoolwork when I did that. He kind of just felt like there was still a lot of work to do after Monday was over because he had only done 1 assignment behind each of those tabs. So in subsequent years, I have divided it up. It's a little bit more work on my part in the front end, but not anything to like complain about. So all I really need to do is just divide it up by each day. That way, when he finishes his work on Monday, he feels that progression of completing his work. And that's really been a successful thing for him. He just feels better about that. So you can do it either way. If you choose to do a binder and just put all of their work behind the tabs, I don't have any tabs in here, but then just keep in mind that anything that you can do to kind of help your child feel like they're moving along in their week is helpful for them too. Just feeling like the end is in sight kind of a feeling. So anyway, hopefully that was kind of a good introduction or beginning start to how you can get your school year started. I have several pages and things that I can show you. And again, I'll do another like week-long video series where it's like back to homeschool, and I'll just show you how I organize and how I plan and how I build out units and all that kind of good stuff. So look for those videos when they come out here in the future. And again, I'll also film that Q&A video here coming up with some of those questions that I had from my Instagram account. So Full Purpose and Heart on Instagram, that's more of just like a fun place. This is where you come for all of your homeschool information. And then on Instagram, it's just kind of a fun place for me to share random things that come to my mind. So anyway, follow me over there if you want to, subscribe to my channel, and give me a thumbs up. Bye.